Welcome back. This is the second video. Last video, we talked about the question of what is knowledge and what an answer looks like. And now we're going to look at Socrates' answer to the question, what makes knowledge stronger than true belief? Well, Socrates says knowledge is true belief that is tied down. What he means by that is that knowledge is different than true belief and it's better than true belief precisely because it is connected to the facts in a way that true belief might not be. So knowledge is different than true belief and it's better than true belief. Because the problem with just having true belief, but not knowledge, is that true belief by itself isn't very reliable. So suppose I always believe that it is 3 p.m. Always, no matter what. I always believe that it's 3 p.m. I don't know why I always believe that, but let's suppose I always believe that. Well, sometimes I will be right. When will I be right? At 3 p.m. and no other time. I'll be right exactly once a day. You know the phrase, a broken clock is right twice a day? That's only an analog clock. Digital clocks are only wrong once a day because they think, or only right once a day because they have AM, PM markers. So let's suppose I, like a frozen digital clock, believe that it's always 3 p.m., even when it's not. Now, my belief will be right, will be true once a day for 1 minute. Other than that, my belief will be wrong. So my belief that it's 3 p.m. is not very reliable. If you ask me what time it is, I will get it wrong 23 hours and 59 minutes out of a 24-hour day. I will be wrong the overwhelming majority of the time. I'll almost always be wrong. But I'll be right. I'll have a true belief for 1 minute each day. So when it's actually 3 p.m., I'll believe it's 3 p.m. and I'll be right. I'll have a true belief. But will I know that it's 3 p.m.? Well, no. It's kind of when my belief turns out to be true once a day, it's kind of just luck because I believe that anyway. I believe that all the time. I just happen to be right. My belief being true is just a coincidence. If you happen to ask me at 3 p.m. and I give you the right answer, it's a coincidence because you happened by sheer luck to ask me at the 1 minute in a day where I have a true belief. The rest of the day, I have a false belief. I think it's 3 p.m. and it's not. So my true belief isn't reliable. It will be replaced by a false belief at 3:01 p.m. because at 3 p.m., I have a true belief that it's 3 o'clock. At 3:01, I have a false belief that it's 3 o'clock. So I believe it's 3 p.m., and my belief is true at 3 p.m., but I still don't have knowledge. And the reason I don't have knowledge is because my belief is not tied to the facts in any way. It's not tied down to the fact that it is 3 p.m. My belief is completely disconnected from what time it is. I always believe it's 3 p.m. no matter what. The actual time has no effect on what I believe. And that's why it's not knowledge. Socrates says, my true belief isn't knowledge because it's not tied down. Even when my belief happens to be true, because it's 3 p.m. and I believe it's 3 p.m., my belief isn't tied to the facts. And so it will not remain true for very long. When the facts change, when the time changes and it becomes 3:01 p.m., my belief will no longer be true. And so knowledge is better than a true belief, Socrates says, because knowledge is true belief that is tied to the facts. It has been tied down so that it stays true. When the facts change, the belief changes with it. There's a reason for having the belief. maybe you have the belief because it's true. If I believe it's 3 p.m. because it is 3 p.m., maybe I looked at a clock or I looked at the naval clock in Fort Collins, Colorado, that's accurate to within a hundredth of a second or whatever. If I really have a good reason for thinking that it's 3 o'clock, then maybe I know that it's 3 o'clock. But if my belief isn't tied down, then it's not knowledge. If it's not connected to the facts in some way, then it's not knowledge. And so the reason my belief isn't tied to the facts is because I don't have any good reason for thinking it's 3 p.m. The fact that it is 3 p.m. isn't relevant to the fact that I believe it's 3 p.m. So my belief that it's 3 p.m. is unjustified. I don't have any good reason for thinking it's 3 p.m., even when it actually is. And this gives us a possible answer to what separates knowledge from true belief. Or this gives us a way of sort of cashing out Socrates' tied down metaphor. Knowledge is always justified, whereas true belief might not be. You can have an unjustified true belief. Suppose you want to know whether or not it's raining. You and a friend want to know whether or not it's raining. So you look out the window and your friend flips a coin. The friend decides if it comes up heads, I'll say it's raining. If it comes up tails, I'll say it's not. Heads, okay, it's raining. And you look out the window and see rain droplets and you decide it's raining. So you both believe it's raining, but one of you is justified because you actually looked at the weather, and one of you is not justified because your friend just flipped a coin, and by sheer random luck, it happened to end up with the right answer. The coin happened to give them the right answer. But that's just luck. That's not justification for believing it. So to have knowledge, you can't just believe something that happens to be true. You have to have a good reason. You have to have a justification for believing that it's true. So a justified true belief is what we actually want. Just having true beliefs is unreliable. You could end up having false beliefs very quickly if your beliefs aren't justified, if they aren't connected to the facts in the right way. So what we really want are justified true beliefs. We want beliefs that are tied down and connected to the facts in a key important way here, so that our belief will be reliable and will be more reliable in believing the truth. And so this leads to a popular account of knowledge. It's been popular for the last 2,500 years. Knowledge as justified true belief. And so this is how Socrates' answer is usually cashed out. Socrates says knowledge is true belief tied down. Most people try to say knowledge is true belief tied down with a justification of some sort. So you have some sort of justification. So knowledge must be justified true belief on this account of knowledge. And this is an attempt to give 3 necessary conditions for knowledge, all of which together are sufficient for knowledge. So the hope is that truth, belief, and justification are each necessary for knowledge. If it's not true, you don't know it. If you don't believe it, then you don't know it. And if you're not justified in believing it, then you don't know it. But if it's true and you believe it and you're justified, then you definitely know it. That's the hope. That's what the account is trying to offer. 3 necessary conditions for knowledge which together are sufficient for knowledge. And so we have a set of necessary and sufficient conditions. Hopefully. That's what the account is supposed to give us. So, assuming that S is a person, you can plug in the name Sally or whatever if just capital letters, variables freak you out. So S is a person and P is some fact, some proposition, some claim about the world. Maybe it's raining, or geese exist, or owls have feathers, or all dogs are fluent in Portuguese, or whatever. Just some claim about the world. The justified true belief account of knowledge says that S knows that P exactly when S believes that P is true, and S is justified in believing that P. So let S be, I don't know, let's say Vladimir Putin, and let P be that owls exist. Vladimir Putin believes that owls exist, I assume. Owls do exist, so owls exist is true. And Vladimir Putin is justified in believing that owls exist, right? He's seen owls, I'm assuming, and that's justification. So, therefore, from those three, Vladimir Putin knows that owls exist. As long as those three conditions are met, Vladimir Putin knows that owls exist. And you can plug in any person and any fact for S and for P, and this will give you the truth conditions for someone knowing that fact. Right? I know that all dogs can talk. If I believe that all dogs can talk, it's true that all dogs can talk, and I'm justified in believing that all dogs can talk. Now, as a matter of fact, I don't know that all dogs can talk. And that's because none of those conditions are met. I am not justified in believing that all dogs can talk. It is not true that all dogs can talk, and I do not believe that all dogs can talk, as a matter of fact. But so you can have cases where some of these conditions are met and some aren't. So pre-Copernicus, back in sort of pre-Enlightenment days, people believed that the sun revolved around the earth, right? So people believed the sun revolved around the earth. So condition one was met. And let's say they were justified in believing the sun revolved around the earth, because it sure as heck looks like the sun revolves around the earth. If you're standing on earth and you see the sun, it looks like the sun is moving. It looks an awful lot like the sun revolves around the earth. So let's say they believed it and they were justified. Given the evidence available, they were absolutely justified in believing it. But it just wasn't true. So they did not know that the sun revolved around the earth, because even though they had a belief and it was justified, the belief just wasn't true. And so it wasn't knowledge. And so even if you meet one or two of these conditions, you don't have knowledge unless you meet all three. So you need all three in order to believe that, in order to know that something's true. You have to believe it, and you have to be justified, and it has to be true. So, if knowledge is justified true belief, if that account is correct, then we can explain why knowledge is more reliable than true belief, or why it's tied down. Because knowledge always has some kind of justification. It always has you always have some good reason for believing that something is true. It's not just arbitrary or random, like my belief it's always 3 p.m. That's pretty arbitrary. Or your friend who flips a coin and says if the coin comes up heads, then it's raining, and it comes up heads and it really is raining. That's random. That happened. That's sheer luck. They just happened to come up with heads, and it happened to be raining. But their belief wasn't justified, and so they don't have knowledge. If the coin had happened to come up tails, they would have had a false belief. So random or arbitrary beliefs don't count as knowledge, and random and arbitrary beliefs are not reliable. unjustified beliefs are not as reliable as justified beliefs, because justification is hard. It's hard to have a justified belief. It takes effort to get justification for your beliefs. I mean, that's what scientists spend most of their time doing, trying to find evidence, trying to find justification for believing something, or trying to get evidence just to figure out what to believe. Trying to find out what belief is justified by the evidence available. That's what scientists spend a lot of time doing. Getting justified beliefs is hard work. And so once you get a justified belief, it's a lot more likely to be true than an unjustified belief. And so justified true beliefs are more reliable than just beliefs that happen to be true, unjustified true beliefs. So justifications make us more reliable. And so knowledge is more reliable than true belief because it has a justification that ties it to the facts. So if I believe it's 3 p.m. because I always believe it's 3 p.m., and you believe it's 3 p.m. because you looked at a clock and saw that it was 3 p.m., then your belief is justified and mine isn't. My belief is arbitrary, but your belief is based on actual evidence. So when it's 5 p.m., you will correctly believe that it's 5 p.m. because you'll look at a clock. But I will wrongly believe that it's 3 p.m. because I always believe it's 3 p.m. because I just have this unjustified belief. So your justification of your belief makes you more reliable than I am about what time it is. You get evidence and justification for your belief about what time it is, and I don't. So I'll be right 1 minute a day, and you'll be right all minutes a day. And that's the benefit of justification. So justified true belief makes us more reliable, makes us wrong less often. And so that seems to explain why knowledge is better than true belief, why knowledge is more reliable than true belief, like Socrates said it was. But there are problems for this account of knowledge. And that's what we will talk about in the next video. Why one 3-page paper from the 1960s basically convinced everyone that knowledge cannot be justified true belief. We'll talk about that in the next video. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, see you next video.